Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are tackling a project that adds so much warmth and just incredible character to a home. We're talking about installing a wood stove chimney, specifically through a gorgeous cathedral ceiling. Now, I know it can look a little intimidating, but when you break it down, it's all about being precise and, above all else, being safe. So let's jump right in. I mean, this is the dream, right? A cozy, beautiful centerpiece for your living space. But to get from just an empty corner to this, you've got to go on a pretty critical journey, especially since that chimney has to pass right through the structure of your roof. So the big question is, how do you get this beautiful result without cutting any corners on safety? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down.
Okay, before we even think about picking up a tool, we have to talk about the single most important safety rule in this entire project. It really all boils down to one thing, understanding that you're not just working with one kind of pipe, you're working with two, and they are completely different.
And this right here lays it all out perfectly. Over on the left, you've got your standard stove pipe. That's the single wall pipe that you see inside the room, connecting the stove up to the ceiling. And notice that big number. It needs an 18-inch clearance from anything that can burn. But on the right, that's the Class A chimney pipe. This thing is a double-walled, insulated beast, and it is the only pipe that is made to pass through your ceiling and your roof. It only needs a 2-inch clearance.
Let's just let that sink in for a second, because this is the one rule that is absolutely non-negotiable. That uninsulated stovepipe gets crazy hot, and if you put it inside a wall or a ceiling, you're creating a massive fire hazard. The insulated Class A pipe is specifically engineered to handle that heat safely. There are no exceptions. End of story.
So now that we've got our two pipes straight, let's meet the rest of the team. Understanding what each one of these parts does before you start is kind of like learning the player's positions before a big game. It just makes the whole thing click.
And wow, this diagram shows the whole setup perfectly. Let's do a quick tour. Starting way up at the top, you've got the chimney cap. That keeps rain, snow, and critters out. Right below that, you have your sections of insulated Class A pipe. Then you see the storm collar and the pitched roof flashing. Think of them as your weatherproofing crew. And holding this whole thing together, right at the ceiling, is the real hero of the system, the ceiling support box.
The ceiling support box is a total workhorse. It's doing two incredibly important jobs at the same time. First, it's the main structural anchor. It's literally carrying the weight of the entire chimney system that's sitting on top of it. And second, it acts as the official handoff point. This is the exact spot where that single-wall stovepipe from inside stops, and the super-safe, insulated Class A chimney pipe begins its journey out of your house.
All right, so let's talk about height. How tall does your chimney actually need to be? This isn't just guesswork. There's a very clear, industry-standard safety rule that makes sure your stove drafts correctly and that you're not shooting sparks onto your own roof. It's called the 3-2-10 rule. And this simple drawing explains the logic perfectly. The whole point of the rule is to get the chimney tall enough to create a good draft. That's what pulls the smoke up and out. At the same time, you want to make sure the top of that chimney is high enough and far enough away from your roof shingles so hot embers can't land on them. Let's break this down. The first number is 3. This is your baseline. No matter what, the very top of your chimney has to be at least 3 feet higher than the spot where it actually comes through the roof. Think of that as your absolute minimum starting point. Now for the second number, 2. This adds another crucial layer of safety. The top of the chimney must also be at least 2 feet taller than any part of your house that's within a 10-foot radius. This is what keeps the wind from blowing smoke back down your chimney and keeps sparks away from the highest part of your roof. And finally, the number 10. This just defines that critical zone. You measure out 10 feet horizontally from the chimney in every direction, creating a circle. Any part of your roof that falls inside that circle has to be at least 2 feet below the top of the chimney. So when you put them all together, 3, 2, and 10, you get the complete blueprint for a safe chimney height.
Okay, we've got the rules, we know the parts. Now it's time to actually build this thing. We're going to walk through the most important steps of the installation, and we're going to start right where the project begins, inside the house.
So here's our game plan. First, we find our perfect center point. Then we cut the holes, both in the interior ceiling and through the roof. After that, we install that big support box, drop in our first section of Class A pipe, weatherproof the roof with the flashing, and then we seal it all up tight.
Now this is a fantastic image because it answers a really common question: why isn't the hole just a circle?
Well, because your roof is sloped. To keep that non-negotiable 2-inch clearance all the way around the round pipe from anything combustible, like your wood rafters and the roof decking, the hole you cut has to be an oval. And the steeper your roof, the longer that oval is going to be.
So once that hole is cut, in goes the ceiling support box. You can see right here how it's designed to be mounted securely right between the rafters. It's what gives you that perfect 2-inch clearance, and like we talked about, it acts as that super important, safe transition from the stovepipe below to the chimney pipe above.
This part is definitely a team effort. The first piece of that Class A pipe, a lot of times with the support box already attached to it, gets carefully lowered down from the roof through the opening. You'll have someone inside to help guide it into place, and the most critical thing here is making sure that pipe is perfectly plumb. That means perfectly straight up and down before you permanently fasten that support box. And now for the really crucial weatherproofing step. The big metal flashing slides down over the pipe, and its top half gets tucked under the shingles above it. That's key. Then, the storm collar slides down until it sits nice and snug on top of the flashing. But here's the critical detail. You apply a thick bead of high-temp sealant only on the top edge where the collar meets the pipe. That creates a perfect seal that sheds water down and away.
These are the kind of pro tips that will save you a massive headache down the road. Just remembering that your flashing is a whole system of layers, not just one piece, is huge. And always double-check that your 2-inch clearance is good everywhere, even from the plywood roof decking itself. Little details like making sure your shingle seams don't land right on the edge of the flashing are what make for a truly professional, leak-proof job.
Okay, the chimney is built, the roof is all sealed up, and we're on the home stretch. But before you even think about lighting that first fire, we have to go through one last, super important phase. This is where you double and triple check every single connection and every clearance. Back inside, the very last construction step is connecting that single-wall stovepipe up from the stove into the bottom of the ceiling support box. You can see it here. You need to make sure every joint is secured with at least 3 high-temperature screws. And you've got to verify one last time that you have that full 18-inch clearance from the stovepipe to any nearby walls.
And this is your final exam. You have to go through this checklist. Are all your clearances met? 18 inches inside, 2 inches passing through the ceiling? Is every joint screwed tight and the support box totally secure? Is the flashing layered right, and is the storm collar sealed? Does your chimney height meet that 3210 rule, and is the cap on top? Only when you can say yes to every single one of those are you ready to go.
You know, that really says it all. Taking the time to understand how the system works, to respect all the clearances, and to follow the steps. It's not just about finishing a project. It's about making a real investment in the long-term safety and comfort of your home. It's the kind of peace of mind you build from the ground up. So as we wrap this up, I'm just going to re-you with that question. It's really a prompt to not just finish the job, but to own the responsibility that comes with it. Double-check your work, always follow the manufacturer's specific instructions, and hey, if you're ever in doubt, call a professional. Thanks for joining me.